I didn't know her, but it seemed like I did. There was something in the way she tilted her head to one side that felt familiar to me. I smiled spontaneously from behind my mask, and she smiled back from across the aisle. How would she see my smile? That's where it began. We were underground. I was speeding to the last stop, but began to wonder if I should disembark earlier. Our exchange of smiles had made me uncomfortable. Though I looked everywhere but her direction, I could tell her stare was locked on me. The train stopped. I should have stayed home. I didn't have to go out, ever, unless I wanted to. See, I worked for a conglomerate that monitored my availability constantly, but allowed me 20 non-sleep hours away from my home workstation. I could order anything in that I needed to: food, water, movies, sex. Anything but air, and I wanted to breathe. I couldn't open my window. See, too many people had jumped to their death, so all buildings were now airtight, except for the first 3 floors. They were for commerce. I suppose you could jump out those windows, but you wouldn't die. You'd land on the crowd. I suppose you might get trampled to death, but if you're going to kill yourself, there'd be better ways. Anyway, I wanted to look out a window and see something other than another window. So I got on that train and I went to that last stop, which exited into this tiny park on a dirty coastline. I liked that park. She walked over to me and slid down into the seat next to mine. She smelled fresh, like the air freshener they piped into our rooms to mark the passing of seasons.
"Why don't you talk to me?"
I heard her ask, just above a whisper. "I don't know you," I replied quite simply.
"Are you sick?"
"Why?"
"That mask."
No, I'm just protecting myself. Truth be told, I liked wearing the mask. I felt hidden by it. We were all practically anonymous. So the next tangible goal after anonymous was to be unseen. We wore gray, we were pale, but she seemed pink.
"You smiled at me,"
she said. "Do I know you?"
"In a way."
"In what way?"
"In a familiar way. I was constructed from your memories and desires."
It's not something you expect to hear on the underground, or above the ground for that matter. I wanted to laugh at her creativity. I wanted to applaud her maybe for attempting to stimulate some sort of sense of fun. But I'd forgotten how to do these things. I could only stare forward at somebody staring back at me blankly, and then it occurred to me. I could stare into all these blank faces around me, blank like mine, or I could stare into the pink.
"I like how you think,"
she said. "What's your name?" When she replied, "Pink," I felt my stomach tighten into a tiny knot. My stomach, everyone's stomach, was tiny, always in a knot from hunger. But this was another feeling, something I'd never experienced. Was it excitement?
"You've read about it."
"What?"
"Excitement,"
she replied, quite matter-of-factly. "Are you reading my mind?"
"I am your mind, in a way. Don't be afraid."
"I'm not afraid."
"Yes, that's why you were picked."
Picked for what?"
"You will leave today, and you are one, if you choose."
"You're crazy," I said, but only because I didn't know what else to say.
"Then so are you," she replied.
My train screeched to a stop. It was the last stop. It was my stop. She stood. I stood. We exited the train silently, with many others shuffling slowly, our heads down, arms at our sides, filing single file onto the escalators as we always do, down long halls and through turnstiles. Orders not to eat, run, litter, push, or stop echoed repeatedly in 4 languages over the speaker system. All the while she stayed right at my side, All the while I'd smelled pink.
It's flowers,
she said. I smiled again. I'd seen pictures of flowers in online museums. I'd sometimes close my eyes and wonder what they might smell like. We passed through the last turnstiles and walked outside into the pungent sea air that felt cool and stuck to my skin. There was a concrete circular plaza with a monument of our planet's first ever spaceship, right in the center of the park. I liked it there. From the edges you could stand on your tippy toes and see just past the chain-link fence to the sheet of gray water that would stretch out and then drop off into nowhere. Deep within, I wanted to drop off into nowhere. Is it roses? I asked.
of all colors.
She said. With thorns?
Yes, thorns. That's why they disappeared. Like so many things, we were all so afraid of the thorns that we allowed the flowers to be taken away. Order has replaced beauty, numbness, pain.
Her words angered me, but I wasn't sure why. I think I've had enough of your company, I said, if you don't mind. I walked away.
We're repopulating Earth,
she called out to me. I stopped. I turned around, and I stared into her eyes. Earth was only a place I'd heard mentioned in school books. It had been a terrible place, seething with hate, greed, pain, and wars.
We're repopulating it, and you've been chosen.
I looked away, partly in disbelief.
You know, you're smiling again.
What would I do on Earth?
You'd be a pioneer.
What does that mean? What does that mean, a pioneer?
You'd make a way. You'd build teams. You'd build consensus. You'd make things happen. Those who have been chosen, that's what they'll all do.
I turned from her again. I walked quickly towards the plaza. I wanted to see that water. I wanted to see off into the distance. When I got there, the plaza was teeming with people, as usual, but oddly, and to my surprise, everyone was paired into unique groups of 2. It was frightening. What's going on? I shouted back at her, and I reached for her shoulders. I wanted to shake them, to knock some sense into her, or someone, but my hands passed through her body like air.
They've all been chosen,
she said.
I will accompany you if you choose to go. If you choose not to go, I'll disappear. I am a hologram. I have all the information you need. But you must choose to go.
It didn't take me long. I ripped off my mask and I put my hand up to my nose. The smell was wonderful and it filled my senses.
That is Earth you smell,
she said.
Dirt, flowers, fresh air, it can all be yours.
Suddenly, a blast of wind and a loud whirling noise descended upon us from the dense smog.
You can plant flowers,
she shouted, above the whirling sound.
You can have gardens. You can have fresh water. You can have blue sky.
Bewildered, I watched as a stairway miraculously appeared from above.
Will you go?
She asked above the noise. Instead of answering, I got in line with the hundreds of others. She, smelling of pink and flowers, stood beside me. That's how it began. That was our genesis. 2 by 2, we climbed the stairs. Aliens bound for Earth.